Bottom left are Bewicks Swan, centre are some Barnacle Geese, top right are starlings. Welcome to my wildlife watching vlog. This is where I point the camera at the wildlife and I stay very much behind the camera because I think that's the best way to do it. That's my... I'll get this slicker. This is episode number 3. This is still in the experimental stage. And so for starters, the maps, you can see everything's going to kind of pop out the maps so you can see where they are. This tells the story of an entire winter where I was maths tutoring and taking the opportunity to go away for sort of a weekend every week or so to try different places to see overwintering birds. These are Barnacle Geese at Mersehead RSPB Nature Reserve. And in a minute we're going to see some tree sparrows and then some more Barnacle Geese flying overhead nearby at Caerlaverock National Nature Reserve. Okay, what's this about? There are, to the north of Britain, to the north of much of Europe, is the Arctic, or at least land close to the Arctic, where it's covered in... all these are the Barnacle Geese flying, they're going to fly overhead. The Arctic is covered in snow in the winter, but in the summer, in the northern hemisphere summer, the snow melts and it is full of wildlife. It is difficult for wildlife to survive the winter, and so what a lot of birds have learnt to do is that they migrate. They spend the summer in the Arctic and then the winter further south. Britain is one of the places where they come to spend the winter. For example, these geese are just going to graze the winter away before disappearing back to the Arctic in the summer. So I call it a spectacular kind of display of birds. That, by the way, was a reed bunting. And we're about to see some Bewicks swans. Bewicks swans, just the same as the geese, also do this migration to take advantage of the sudden availability of food in the summer in the Arctic. Britain, the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, parts of Belgium, parts of France, the list goes on, and that's just looking at Northern Europe. These are some of the places where the geese will spend the winter, because it's even in Northern Europe where it can be quite cold. This is more Barnacle Geese, by the way. And we're now at Caerlaverock WWT, Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust Nature Reserve. Look at this, I love this circle of Barnacle Geese. So even though winter can feel cold to humans in, for example, Britain, it doesn't feel so cold to the geese. They're like, this'll do, it's better than the Arctic. And of course there's other birds around as well. For example, this blue tit, which I saw at Loch Ken RSPB Nature Reserve. And in a moment we'll see a nuthatch, which I saw at the same place. I'm going to look at this in a kind of anti-clockwise direction around the coast of Britain, because most of these overwintering birds hang around on the coast, because that's where you've got mud flats, that's where you've got salt marshes, good availability of food, places where they can roost overnight. Often you get birds such as geese will roost offshore during the night to be safe from predators, and so on. There's lots of reasons. So now I'm at the Cumbria Solway. I loved this photo. It was very cold in the morning in my motorhome, but I also really enjoyed the view. And here's more Barnacle Geese. So we'll watch these Barnacle Geese flying over. Continuing round, Cumbria Solway, Dumfries and Galloway, which are the 2 locations I've looked at so far. By the way, for each of these locations, go to my blog, link in the description for this video, there should be, otherwise I'm sure you can find it, hopefully. I've got articles about all these places. There is upsell to books, but you don't have to buy the books. Anyway, continuing round, my next stopping off point was Morecambe Bay. Lots more opportunity to see things here. I saw quite a few waders. For this video, I've just got this clip of a bearded tit, or bearded reedling, which I saw at Leighton Moss. This is an example of a bird which lives all year round in the reeds here. I'm quite impressed that I'm impressed by migration, but it's also kind of impressive, I think, that these birds can survive the colder winter in Britain and then also live well during the hot summer. Further around I went visited the Ribble Estuary, another place where we can see lots of overwintering birds. You've got the giant mudflats and salt marshes there, and that was a moorhen that I saw at Longton Brickhoff Nature Reserve. But I'm trying to the original and River Mersey, lots we can see here. We're now entering an area with lots of pink-footed geese. The different species of geese tend to go to different places, which is also kind of true for the swans. We're now at the Severn Estuary. Here's a video of a water rail that I saw at Wildfowl and Wetland Trust Slimbridge. Yeah, where was I? So, the original, my first edit of this video was about 45 minutes long, and I just thought, I'm going to have to cut this down. I think it's getting a bit silly. So I did cut it down. So for some locations I've just kind of skipped a bit, and then I'm just homing in a bit more on some of the others. So I've homed in on the Somerset Levels. We've got quite a few videos here. This is an example of a location which is not directly on the coast, although this bit is on the coast. This is at Steart, which is a bit of mudflat and coastal area. If you're visiting the Somerset Levels, great to spend a day here as well. Gives you a nice additional habitat, lots more opportunities to see some different things. The Somerset Levels are a key overwintering destination for ducks, although this is in fact a little grebe. Ducks in Britain, you can see overwintering ducks all over Britain, even in the smallest of ponds. However, there are also large concentrations in some places. For example, on the Somerset Levels, this is a shell duck, which is kind of more closely related to a goose. Maybe I'm not fully up to date on the DNA information. Anyway, oh, and I saw this stoat on a footpath here as well. It kind of kept running towards me, and then suddenly it realised I was there and then disappeared. So we've done a little bit of coast at the Somerset Levels. Now we're going to go inland. Here's the view at Shapwick Heath, where we can see this giant group of starlings. There's an incredibly large population of starlings, millions. This has nothing to do with the birds that visit from the Arctic. So this is still a form of migration, which is that the starlings, which will spread out more to nest during the summer, will then all concentrate together in the winter. Many reasons why. Perhaps I was talking earlier about, isn't it amazing that resident birds can survive the cold winters? Well, if they cluster together in their millions, then they're sharing warmth. It's also a way they can protect each other from predators. This was, again, looking behind the scenes of me making these vlogs, because this is only the third one. I'm still learning how to do it. I had a lot of footage of the starlings, and eventually I realised that if I was going to put this much in, I could probably just make it a separate video. And in fact, there is already a separate video somewhere else of that, and I was like, if I'm going to do like a general documentary style, or not really, no, it's more of a vlog style thing, I think I need to kind of trim everything down a bit. And whenever I find a more extended scene that I like, I make a separate video of it. So then I had a fantastic night's sleep after seeing all the starlings. Got up in the morning nice and early. Here's some ducks and coots that I saw from the hide, which we just saw the morning view from. The black and white ones are tufted. We can see ones with the yellow on the head and a bit of red on the side of the head, or mainly on the head. That's widgeon. There's a wide variety of ducks. Oh, and notice some of them feed by diving, some of them stay on the surface just looking for weeds to eat. We've got a shoveler duck here on the right, a teal on the left. The shoveler has a unique shaped bill which helps it kind of filter food out of the water. Although in this case, it seems to me like it's just acting like a dabbling duck. Finally, here's a nuthatch. I say finally, we're going to move on to a new location. Continuing the clockwise route around Britain, kind of picking out some highlights, missing some places which are also good. This is what I call Hurst to Lymington. Pennington Marshes here, one of my favourite spots. You see loads of stuff. Better go to the blog for that one because we're moving on quickly. Chichester. We're now in the region where there's lots of Brent Geese, similar also on Pennington Marshes. So notice we were Barnacle Geese, then we went pink-footed geese, and now we're in an area where there's lots of Brent Geese. Although, just to clarify, these are Brent Geese. The video we just saw a moment ago, that was actually resident Canada geese that I saw at Farlington Marshes. But these are winter visiting Brent Geese. And in a moment we'll see a video of some cormorants drying their wings or doing something else. A lot of debate about why cormorants hold their wings out. Some people suggest that it's allowing sunlight to fall on their bellies, warming their bellies, helping them digest the fish. But they were shaking the wings there, weren't they? So what was that about? Maybe that's because they were cold. Kent Marshes. I've wanted to go here for years. I did. I saw some amazing things, but we're going to skip past this as well. Go and read my blog if you want to see some more. But that's an area near London. If you live in London or you're visiting London, that's a good place to go for a day's birdwatching, I think, during the winter. Essex coast. If you want to go somewhere desolate in winter, I think you could try Old Hall Marshes, which is an RSPB reserve. I saw 2 or 3 very hardy birdwatchers and lots of hardy birds, and that was it. This is a group of black-tailed godwits I saw by the car park here. So these are some waders. Waders are another group of birds along with ducks and swans and geese, which will spend the winter further south and then go north to the Arctic for the summer. And do you remember we were talking about how the geese will tend to cluster in certain parts of the country? Less so with the waders. There might be localization of waders, but in terms of just like the species, so black-tailed godwits can be seen all over the place. As can snipe. Snipe can be seen all over the place, all over Britain, particularly on the coast, because their long bills enable them to feed in the damp, wetland, coastal habitats. Those long bills in the summer enable them to feed in the marshes and soft, damp ground of the Arctic, not on the coast, but inland on the kind of Arctic tundra. So the longbill playing the same role of helping feeding in the winter and summer, but in different habitats. We're now on the North Norfolk coast. I think this is an amazing spot. Definitely one of the highlights if you speak to other birdwatchers or look at itineraries of commercial birdwatching companies. A popular spot to go. This is a view from the Hyde at Clay Marshes. Oh, here's a couple of marsh harriers, because we're allowed to look at other types of birds as well. 2 birds of prey that specialise in living in sort of marshy areas. Yeah, so anyway, North Norfolk coast, popular spot to go. Oh, and I was going to say something else about the waders, which is I love this fact about waders. You think their bill's long, well, their tongue is even longer, obviously, because if you think about it, most animals, their tongue will reach out of their mouth, so incredibly long tongues. Right, moving on. We're now in another area. We were looking at north-west England, where you've got lots of pink-footed geese. There's like a big cluster of tens of thousands that overwinter there. There's another cluster of tens of thousands of pink-footed geese that overwinter on the Wash, which is the name of another estuary type of thing. And here at Holkham, I saw about 30,000 in one day. I thought it was incredible. Here's just some of those 30,000 pink-footed geese that were feeding in this in a few fields on this day. And that's not an unusual total to see at Holkham. And I was talking earlier about how there's lots of reasons why wildlife does different things, and we don't even know if they're reasons, they might just be accidental benefits. But anyway, I went to Snettisham for the sunrise when it was very cold, and I saw the pink-footed geese, which would spend the night time on the mudflats so they could be away from predators like foxes. Then, as dawn arrives, they'll take off. This is just some of them taking off. They were continually taking off and flying overhead for about half an hour. I thought I'd just take a video clip of one particular group taking off and then flying overhead. And at Snettisham, also a great place to see large groups of waders. Apologies for the upsell, but if you go to my book, you'll see that I've been to Snettisham a few times, and I think there's one particular spot there which is very good for seeing waders at any state of the tide. You can probably work it out if you go there. But hey, my book's good if you want to get it. Okay, I think so anyway. To finish off, the Fens is another inland place like the Somerset Levels, where you also get lots of ducks. It seems like these inland places are particularly good for ducks. And Lincolnshire coast is on the other side of the wash, another good place for seeing pink-footed geese. That was a bit of a whistle-stop tour. That was only 15 minutes. We could go on for hours about this. Britain, amazing place to see wildlife in winter, especially ducks, geese, swans, waders. I think it's spectacular.